All right, welcome in everyone. I'm Amanda. I'm a PD specialist here at Bright Thinker for those of you I have not met. Today we're going to be walking through the teacher application, mid-year refreshers, and we're going to go through some questions after the topics that I have planned. We'll go through some questions that popped up within the surveys we received, and then we'll open the floor at the end for Q&A for any other additional questions you guys may have. If anything is school specific or is not answered within the webinar today, please feel free to fill out a survey that Megan will provide within the chat at the end so that any questions can be directly answered to the email you provide within that survey. So if you weren't here at the very few minutes ago, please use that little speech bubble in the bottom right, that little chat. That way you can ask all your questions within there. Megan, our support director, will be in there answering questions. She will stop me if I need to go back over anything or show something that I haven't shown yet. If you were with us at our last teacher webinar, we will cover a couple of the same topics that we covered there, but there will be some new ones as well. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. We did have quite a few questions within the surveys about how to use the support materials, how to get there, and how to find it. So our support materials is resources for admins, teachers. It's going to be a place separate from your school site where you can go and find tips, tricks, reminders. We also have overview videos of the teacher application. So if you're brand new to Bright Thinker, you've never used it before, or you have teachers coming in that haven't used it before, we do have an overview video in there for teachers where it's intended for those who cannot attend live trainings or weren't a part of the initial ones, just so you can get the basics of Bright Thinker and feel comfortable in there. So when you come to log in to your support materials, you can get there through your main menu or through the URL. If you request your credentials through the survey at the end of the webinar today, we will provide you the URL link as well as your school's credentials. So it won't be your credentials that you log into your school site with. It'll be the same credentials for all of staff within your specific school. I'm just going to log in as mine just to show you. Once you log in, it will be the student app. You'll want to scroll down to the support materials course card. You can click right onto it, or you can click that activities play button in the bottom right. Once you come into the course for the support materials, we usually have some announcements or general information at the top, but then you can scroll down and you will have a search bar. So you can use that search bar to search for specific things. So if you're looking for teacher resources, you're looking for maybe how to allow a retry, different things like that, you can type keywords into the search bar and it'll pull up those related topics for you. We'll have any recorded webinars at the top. And then we have an entire folder dedicated to teachers. We even have that Welcome to Bright Thinker package with all things you'll need first day. And beyond that, we have the support materials for teachers that'll dive a little bit deeper with topics as refreshers and reminders, things like that. And so if you need those credentials for your school support materials or you have any questions about it at all, please fill out that survey at the end and we're happy to send those along to you. I'm just going to open up my training site today to walk through our key topics. So some things that we're going to talk about today, and we're going to talk about when a student has a course that says expire on it. We're going to walk through how to see past courses and see grades for those past courses as a teacher. We're going to dive into the needs grading a little bit and a couple scenarios where if you still have it in there, you haven't been able to clear out your needs grading, a couple things that might be. We're going to get into the gradebook, specifically for instances where maybe you have a student that came in mid-year and you're just trying to keep them on pace with the other students, or maybe you have grades from their other school or their other class that you're trying to add into yours. We'll kind of talk about that. We're going to get into the People tab, help you monitor their progress, and then we'll talk about a couple of progress reports you can pull before students start working again to get that live data. All right, so I'm going to switch over to the student side. So when a student logs in and they see on their course card, they have this expired, might have that little clock next to it. What that means is that their enrollment end date has passed, but they're still within that grace period. So teachers and students will have that grace period of about 2 to 3 weeks after their enrollment end date where they can view their course as a student. They can't submit any more work past that enrollment end date. So you'll see here, the student, it ended on January 2nd. So their enrollment end date is over. I can't submit anymore as a student, but I can click in here and I can view my course. Once the 2 to 3 week grace period has passed, this will auto archive off of their login site. So just like on the teacher side as well, it'll auto archive off of your login page as well once you have passed that grace period. So it'll kind of just do that for you. As a student, if I want to see any courses that have already passed, I'm going to come into my main menu and I'm going to come down to my grades option. Within my grades option, I'll have a tab in the top left to see my past courses. So I can see information about my past courses, and I can even click into them. So there are some settings that maybe your school has decided not to allow students to see their past courses. So you might always want to talk to your admin team. That may be school specific if they can see it or not. But if they do have that option, they'll be able to see that information on those expired courses. I'm going to go back over to my teacher app. So on the teacher side, your course card is not going to say expired like the students. It'll just stay there until that grace period has ended, and then it'll auto archive for you. You have a few steps to get to those past courses if you'd like to see grades in there or information. Once you've logged in the top right, you'll have a couple paper icons that are stacked. It'll say courses when hovered over. When you click there, it'll give you a drop down, and one of the options will be past courses. So when you click onto the past courses, it's going to bring you into a list of any courses that have auto archived for you. That'll give you some information. And you'll notice you'll have that these key icons that you had on your course card. So you can click onto the play button to see the full list of activities within that course. You can click into the grade book, the reports of this course, the people tab, and even the editor. So I have noticed that a lot of times when you're looking for past courses, you're looking for those past scores or past grades. So I do recommend clicking onto the grade book for that course. However, if there are no longer any active student enrollments within the course, you will not have a list of active students within your gradebook. So you'll want to come up to that gear icon in the top right. It'll say options when hovered over. Within the display options for the gradebook, you'll want to scroll down all the way to the bottom. It'll say other view options, and you'll want to make sure you check on show inactive enrollments. I'm going to click save in the top right, and this will now show me all of my active and inactive enrollments within this past course. So any grades that they had earned, which this one is just the training site, so I don't really have anything in here, but it'll show you their last score that they got, their overall minutes. You can see quite a bit of different things in here depending on what display options you've chosen to see. But this will allow you to get any grades that you're needing from a past course if you didn't get it before the grace period ended. And how to get here, I'll walk through that one more time. So when you log in as a teacher, you'll come up to that stacked paper icon. It'll say courses when hovered over. From the drop-down menu, you'll come to past courses. You can click right onto that gradebook icon. And then you'll want to make sure with that gear icon in the top right, you come down to make sure inactive enrollments are now showing. All right. Megan, if we didn't have any questions.
I just got one, Amanda. So there was a question, if a student enrollment is moved from one course to another, does the prior teacher have access to the grades work from when the student was in their course before the move? So typically not. Usually what we recommend when moving an enrollment is to actually move the enrollment. There's a few different ways some schools do it. Sometimes they inactivate the status and then create a whole new enrollment, which in that case, the grades would not populate with that new enrollment. So in order to keep the grades and the status of where the student's at, and they don't have to start from scratch, or the teacher doesn't have to input all the grades, we recommend actually moving the physical enrollment, keeping the same ID. When that occurs, all the grades go to the new course. So if the previous teacher doesn't have access to the new course, they would not be able to see the data since it moves with the student. If the school does inactivate the student's current enrollment and starts fresh, then yes, that data would be saved within that year. So it just kind of depends on the process that's taken and where the data currently is.
All right, thank you so much, Megan. If everyone's feeling comfortable here, I'm going to click back into my main menu and I'm going to click back onto my house icon to go back to my login page. We're going to talk through a few things within the needs grading. So I'm just going to click right onto my needs grading. So within your needs grading, if you are trying to clear it out, maybe you've graded things, or maybe they're not quite going away, there's a couple of options of what might be occurring. So I'm just going to click on this example I have here. So when you click onto a student's submission, you see that you can see their answers and you can see anything that was auto-graded, and you see that there's a score up there. And you're wondering why it's still in your needs grading if there is a score. Sometimes what happens is when a student submits something and they've retaken it or they've taken their retry, it'll come in here as a new submission. And anytime it is a new submission that was previously scored, it's going to show you the last score that they earned. So in order to check to see if that's what's occurring, you can come up to these tabs in the middle of your needs grading, and you can look over here at the submission history. When you click onto the submission history, it's going to list out for you all of their previous submissions of this specific activity. You'll notice that the last submission they gave me, this was that score. So that's why it's still sitting in my needs grading. After it was graded, they submitted again. So it is going to need me to grade it again before it will leave my needs grading. So this, I can either excuse it, I can give full credit, I can provide a new score up here in the top, or I can just keep the score that I had. Within that submission history, you can always view previous submissions to see how they did previously compared to what they did now, to see if there's any changes in the score that I'll provide. But all you'll have to do is either type in there the new score, give full credit, however you'd like to provide the score, and then you'll just click submit again. After you have submitted the new score for the new submission, you can either refresh or you can leave your needs grading and come back. Once you have submitted a new score, it will provide to the far left over here that you did complete that score. So that's another indication that you haven't scored this particular submission, is if you don't have that percentage of the score that you provided on the far left in that list. So I can provide a new score here. I can click submit. It'll show me that I provided that new score to the very far left panel. And once I leave the needs grading or refresh, it'll come off of my list itself. Another cause of an assignment still being in here, you may click onto a submission and you may see no content to display. You may see a notification about it's no longer visible. There's a few different indications for this example. So this one in particular is the student submitted the activity. Before I graded it, I went and hid it as a teacher. So it's hiding their content as well because it's going to hide that score. So in order to remove this from my needs grading, there's going to be a couple of steps that I'll have to do, otherwise it'll just sit in here. So I'm going to have to come into my main menu in the top left. I'm going to have to come down to the course that I hid the activity in. And within that submenu, I'm going to have to click into the editor or that pencil icon. You can also go into the editor right from your login page on the course card itself and just click onto the pencil icon. And it'll bring you to the same place. So this one in particular, the one that's sitting in my needs grading, I did hide it. It was at lesson 4 fairy tales. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to unhide it by clicking onto that eyeball. Once I've unhidden it, I can go back into my main menu and I can come back up into my needs grading. And now I'll be able to click onto that student submission now that it's unhidden, and it'll show me exactly what they submitted. So I can either provide a grade here, I can excuse it, or I can override complete it. But if I'm going to go back and hide it, it's not going to calculate it into the overall score anyway. So you can just excuse it or override complete. So I can go ahead and excuse this one. It'll show me that I excused it. When I refresh, it'll leave my needs grading. Now that it's out of my needs grading, I can go back into my main menu and go back down to my course, back into my editor, and I can re-hide by clicking back onto that eyeball, just as I meant it earlier to be hidden. Click back into my main menu, click on the house icon. So now when I click into my needs grading, I'm able to clear out some of those activities that were submitted that I was having trouble with getting out of my needs grading. Megan, I did see a few questions pop up. Were there any that needed to be walked through?
I'm reading back through to make sure, but I don't think so. There just were a few requests for when you pull that work sample, Amanda, there's no overall score. So I had sent that over to our specialist to request that from Buzz, but I absolutely agree. There should be a score somewhere on there so that makes sense for the auditors. But other than that, I just put a few definitions in there as you were walking through the needs grading. I don't think I see anything else at the moment.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. I'm going to click back into my main menu and click back onto that house icon for the teacher app. Next topic I had up was walking through the gradebook, quick excusing, quick adding scores. So a good example is if you have a student coming in mid-year and you need to either excuse activities for them or you need to add in scores they previously earned. So when coming to the course card, you're going to come down to your gradebook icon in the bottom left. Within the gradebook, I do have an example of a student that I just had enrolled into my course. They are new mid-year, but maybe they had some scores that I was given previously. So an option you have is using the lightning bolt in the top right to quick edit. When you click onto the lightning bolt and have it highlighted on, this will allow you to click right into that score box and manually add in those scores that you were given for them. It'll also allow you to type in that letter X on your keyboard if you are wishing to excuse that particular activity for that student. When you're excusing, it will not calculate that score into the overall score for the student. But specifically for like a continuous course, if you're wanting to keep the pace that all the other students have and have the same similar targeted due dates and things like that, excuse would be a good option so that it's not being calculated, but their pacing stays the same for those continuous courses. You'll want to make sure that you click the lightning bolt again to unhighlight it when you're done adding those scores for that student. You do have another option to do this in a little bit more of a bulk way. When you click onto their name in the far left-hand corner, this will bring you to the grades page for that particular student. So that way you can ensure you're just affecting their grades. You'll have the lightning bolt in the top right here. So if you like the lightning bolt, you can come and use this and you can add those scores manually this way or excuse with that letter X. But right next to it will be that paper icon for batch update. When you click and highlight that on, it'll give you those check boxes to the very far right of all those activities. So if you're wanting to just come in here and quickly excuse maybe the first semester's worth of activities, you don't need to calculate it in. You want to keep the pacing. You just want to excuse it. You can excuse in bulk. And then that way for those continuous courses, it'll keep all those dates the same as your other students if they have the same enrollment dates. But it won't factor those into their overall score for where you'd like them to complete that work. So lightning bolt will let you do one at a time. And then that paper icon for batch update will let you excuse multiple activities at the same time. right. I don't think I saw anything pop up. So thank you again. I'm just going to move on over to my main menu and into my overall people tab. From your main menu, anytime you click onto your people tab, that's going to bring you all of your students for all of the courses you're enrolled in as a teacher. It's a great way to quickly monitor student progress while you are within here. You'll need to come to that gear icon in the top right for your options just to decide what you'd like to view while you are within your people tab. This can be the student's last login, any accommodations that were set by your admin team. You can see their current overall score and time spent. There's quite a few different things that you can see while you're in here. I'll just leave what's on for now. And this will allow you to just assess where the students currently are, how much time they spent, what progress they've completed, how their pace and performance is. For pace and performance, they'll get that green, yellow, or red dot. Green indicating that they're on pace or they're passing. Yellow will indicate they're at risk for falling behind or failing, and then red will indicate that they are failing or they are behind. You'll also have this upside down triangle in the top right. It'll say filter when hovered over. So if you have quite a few students that you're looking at and you're looking for one specifically, when you click on that upside down triangle, it'll allow you to type in a name for a specific student. And then that way, any courses you're enrolled with them as their teacher will populate for you here. So if Sarah was in several of my courses, all of those would pull up for me here, and I can just at a glance see what I need to see for her progress, overall score, things like that. And that's just the upside down triangle in the top right. You do also have the option to monitor student progress from the people tab of just the course if you want to see just the course's students. So in my main menu, when I come down to the title of the course in the bottom of my menu, that submenu, you'll notice you also have a people tab. You'll also have that same icon on your course card when you log in. So it'll allow you to see just the students enrolled within that course, but it's the same display options, the same information that you can see if you'd rather just course by course. And I did see that one pop up, Megan, for the mastery and progress. So progress is going to be their overall percentage that they've completed for activities within the course. And then mastery is going to reference standards or those objectives within the course. So it'll give you a percentage of how many objectives they have mastered out of how many are within the course itself. So for example, when I hover over the mastery bar for my example teacher, there's 673 standards within this course based upon whatever state this course is tied to. I'm not quite sure for our training site. But this student has mastered none of them yet. As they're mastering those standards and completing activities, this this percentage will change and go up. If you click onto their name to the far left from here or their gradebook, you can also come in here to objective mastery in the top left tabs. And this will kind of list out all of those standards or objectives within this specific course that you're looking at. And it'll let you know how they're doing. Like that drop down arrow will let you know what standard that's covered in, or I'm sorry, what activity that standard is covered in. There's quite a bit of information you can see there as well. But the people tab is a great way to monitor that student progress as you're going throughout the year. You also have a couple of report options that you can pull to monitor student progress as well. When you click into the main menu, I'm just going to click on the house icon. When you click into that main menu, you'll have that more reports option towards the bottom of your menu. The more reports is going to offer you some PDF versions of these reports. So the two most popular ones that I would recommend would be either the grade details or the progress reports. It's going to pull live data. So as of the time you pull it, and I can show you, we have examples within the support materials as well. So when you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there will be a report section, and you can see some examples of a few reports we have. The first one being the grade details. This is going to pull their current overall course grade. And then it'll give you 2 percentages for the gradable activities versus all activities. The all activities percentage is going to include anything that is non-gradable. So if they had to view it for a specific amount of time, or maybe they had to click mark as complete, it can be anything from project instructions, supply list, things like that. That's what's going to be factored into that all activities. And then gradable activities will be any activities that will earn a grade. Underneath those, it is going to break it down by category what their current overall score is. It'll list out all of their, so the quizzes category, it'll list out all of the quizzes they've completed as of the day you've pulled it. It'll give you the score they made, the day they submitted it, and if they had a due date on there, it'll show you the due date as well. So that's a great way to kind of track how the student's doing. We also have an example of the progress report in there. That one's a nice clean version of just their overall current score as the day you pull it and their overall progress as well. This one can be great if you need to provide it to a parent or pass along to the student. It just has a nice clean score and progress as far as the day you pulled it. But these plus a few more are available within the support materials all the way to the bottom in the reports folder. Yes, Megan.
There was one question that just came up. Is there a way to do this for all courses on one document?
The progress report or both?
Yes, I believe so. I think progress, but you can address both.
Yeah, absolutely. So you'll have the option to, when you click generate, you can pull it by course. So it'll pull all of the students within that specific course that you're choosing. Or you can pull it by student, and then it'll pull for that student any courses that you're enrolled in as the teacher with them. And if I pull it by course, it'll pull, when you look at the example, it'll just be one student at a time. So if you're looking at it, it'll show you all the information for one student, and then you'll have to just keep scrolling down and it'll show you the next student. And I believe, Megan, the progress report, as far as the admins can pull that in bulk, correct?
Yes, so that's a newer feature that just came out recently. The admin team, if you have admin permissions yourself, or you can request this of your admin team to be able to pull their progress for the entire domain instead of just per course or student, because the LMS will see the access you have as a teacher and only allow you to pull reports that you have access to. So they do limit it to the course or student on this one.
Thank you so much, Megan. I hope that helped with the question. Right, and then I did want to go through some of the questions that we did get through the surveys. One of them was about credit recovery courses. So we do typically recommend the KA or knowledge assessment courses for credit recovery. They're available in 3rd through 12th grade core courses. So in order for a student to complete this course, they will need to be enrolled into this course like any other enrollment. It'll have the same content as a regular course. The main difference here is that the first thing that they're going to see is the knowledge assessment itself. It's essentially a pass-fail. So if they pass that knowledge assessment, they'll automatically be excused through that entire unit's worth of work, and they'll be able to take the next knowledge assessment, essentially testing out unit per unit. If they fail that knowledge assessment, they will be required to work through all those activities within that unit where they can take the next knowledge assessment at the next unit when they get there. You do, as a teacher, have the ability to hide specific things. So if maybe a student failed that unit 3, but you didn't want them to sit and do the lessons, you just wanted them to take the quizzes, you could go in there and hide the lessons for that student. It will affect all students enrolled within that course, so please keep that in mind. And you won't see an overall score for a knowledge assessment course unless they have failed a knowledge assessment and they're working through those activities. So that's the only time you'll see scores. If they've completed all of the knowledge assessments, say they passed all the units, you won't have an overall score for it. It's essentially they passed those units. So that was one main question that I saw through the surveys. Another one, there was questions about SpeechStream. So this past year, it was updated to be the accessibilities toolbar. It used to be that ear icon or the text-to-speech toolbar. They have updated the icon and the name of it, but it's the same exact toolbar. So when you click it and open it up, it can be moved around. And essentially, there's options for the student to have it read aloud to them. There's a translator on here. There's dictionary, picture dictionary. We have a screen mask. And then the magnifier works with the pointer finger to read aloud as well as magnify it up at the top. I'd showcase it for you, but you can't really hear the read aloud on your side when I played on mine. But within the support materials, we have a student resources section. Within the student resources section, we do have student guides as well as a text-to-speech video and reference guide. So it kind of walks through the different things within the text-to-speech that they can use, how it works. And also on the student side, switch over to the student app. As well as you as a teacher, you'll have a student resources right there within your main menu. And this will also provide those student guides, the text-to-speech reference, and there's also videos as well for different features. So we always recommend, if you're curious about that text-to-speech, you can go right from your main menu to those student resources, or you can come right into the support materials within the student resources as well. Let me see some other questions we had. We did get a question about calculating missing or late assignments. That one is more of a manual process where you can look at the student's grades page. So if you're trying to figure out how many missing or late assignments your student has, you can click into your gradebook or your people tab. You can click right onto the student's name to the far left, and then you can kind of just calculate how many assignments they've missed or how many are late. And then we walk through bulk grading, student progress. So I'll make sure I get through these questions. And then we walk through the support materials. Again, with the support materials, we do have that teacher section. So we have that overview video. We have a breakdown of different things you'll find within the site. So any brand new teachers that you have coming on, or if you just need a refresher on some basic things, we have all of that in here. And that overview video is a great way to start new teachers within the site as well. We did get a question about sending a message to all students. So messages to students is going to be very dependent upon your specific school. Some schools may have the inbox turned on, some may have it turned off. If the inbox is turned on for your school, you can send a message directly to all of your students that way within a specific course. If it's not turned on for your school, you may request that of your admin team. That's just at the determination of each school. You'll know that you have the inbox feature turned on with that little icon in the top right. It'll say inbox when hovered over. If there are any school-specific questions or any questions about that, feel free to add or elaborate if it was you that asked that question into that survey at the end of the training or at the end of the webinar, and so we can make sure that we fully answer that question for you. And then that'll be similar with sending a student message individually. If you have that inbox, you can send it to one student or all students. If you don't have the inbox turned on and the student has an email that was added to their user details, you're able to send a message that way, but you can also provide feedback on any of the student submissions they'll be able to see within their activity stream.
Hey, Amanda.
Mm-hmm.
We got a few questions coming in that might be helpful to answer now.
Yeah.
So let me just start at the top so we don't get lost. There was a question on if teachers can impersonate a student to see their view of things. And I did mention how admins have access to proxy, but if you'll just show how a student can, or sorry, a teacher can view as a student within an assignment, so they can see exactly what the student's seeing in that assignment. And then I have a few more questions for you after that one.
Perfect, absolutely. So I'm just going for my login page. I'm going to click onto the activities play button in the bottom left corner. This is going to bring me to the full list of activities for this course. And I'll just scroll down to the particular activity I like to look at as a specific student. So I'll just pick this one. So once you've clicked onto the activity title, you'll notice in the top right it says viewing as, and it should say your name. When you click onto viewing as in the top right, you'll get a drop down, and the first option will be view as. This will give you the opportunity to click onto student from that pop-up window. And then you'll want to use those 3 lines. To the far right, it'll say choose enrollment when hovered over. This will allow you a list of all the students enrolled within your course so that you can pick the student you'd like to view this activity as. Once you've picked the desired student, you'll click OK in the bottom right. And this will then bring you into the exact view that the student sees when they're looking at this activity and they click in there. So if they had a targeted due date or a due date set, it'll say at the top, they earned a score, you'll be able to see that. And you can scroll down and see the activity just as they're seeing it on their side. So if they have a review of questions, you'll be able to see the review just as they see it. If there's no review of questions, you won't be able to see their questions at all. But it'll show exactly what the student sees on their side when they click onto that activity. When you're done viewing as that specific student, you'll just click viewing as again in the top right. And you'll go through that same steps for view as, and then you'll go back to my self teacher and click OK. And that way you're back in that teacher view. And then Megan.
Sorry, I was taking Okay, so that is how you view as a student for a teacher. Another question that came in was, could you please explain what use agendas in the course means?
What is? I'm sorry.
Using agendas.
Agendas.
That is in the activities page of it as a teacher. So if you'll scroll down under the landing page, it allows you to, well, you do have to turn on the course agenda. So that if you go to your editor, so it must have been in a different course that you had it turned on. But in your course settings with the wrench icon, you can access to add and use course agendas. Oh, you might have been in this setting where they saw it. So yeah, you can check that on. Once the use agendas is turned on for the course, it'll appear in your activities page as a teacher. And that right underneath the landing page will allow you to set an agenda for the day. So the pencil icon allows you to include anything here that you'd like the students to see. It is intended to be per day. So you can set the dates, you can repeat agendas, anything that you might need to do, but instead of the landing page that's static, this would just be that day that the students would see that information.
It might be a little bit more helpful.
Perfect. Thanks, Amanda. And then we do have a few other questions. Let me go back through. There's a question about including missing assignments when calculating the overall grade. I know that you had talked through that. I don't know that I fully answered to the point that you did, Amanda, but I just said that you must include to automatically mark a 0 in the settings or to give a grade by a teacher in order for missing assignments to be calculated into the overall score. And then there was a question back to that on how to mark a 0 automatically. That would be an academic setting chose by your admin team. So if they request for our team to run that setting, it would apply to all courses and automatically assign 0s to past 2 activities for all of your students. And then that would be considered missing. And then a few other questions that came in about lab materials. So I did recommend Home Science Tools. If you'll show their page, Amanda, and then I'm going to post the link in our chat of how to access and it is in our support materials as well. You can just type in Home Science Tools in the top to search for it. I don't know if we titled it all together. You should just be able to type in home. There you go.
Did we take it out?
Oh, I think it's in the updates that's currently hidden. Okay, let me go pull it really quick. Science tools. And then let me get to Bright Thinker so y'all don't get lost on their site. Okay, Amanda, I'm going to paste that in our chat and then you can click right from there. Okay, so this is a direct link to our partner of Home Science Tools kits. As Amanda pulls it up, I do like to make everybody aware that they do not provide everything that's needed for that grade level or those labs within the course. They do closely work with our curriculum team and the science specialists to make sure they have the correct items. They test out all of the labs and make sure that they function as needed. Their intention is to make it a little bit cheaper on parents and schools, so that price does reflect leaving out some items and or substituting some items that was approved by our science specialist that can still make the lab make sense. So it does give a list of, Amanda clicked underneath there, what's included and other items needed. You can work with their representative. His name is Scott Burns as a school. So your admin team will have access to him. If not, they can reach out to us. And he will go through everything with your school. So it's not just specific what's on here right now. They can customize kits. So this is specific for one student, but if you have a lab of multiple students working the project, sometimes they can alter the number of items in the package. So you don't have to order the complete set every time. And then more specific questions, we can do our best to answer, but it is a third party from us. So I don't have all of the best information, but we can get you connected if needed. And then we do give his email out directly to the admin team. So if you don't have access to him or your school doesn't have a connection just yet, just let us know in that follow-up survey and we'll make sure they get connected with your admin team and who would do the ordering with him.
Was that all the questions that were in the chat?
Yes, a few more are coming in. Amanda, on setting the automatically assign 0 to past due. Is that a per course setting, Amanda, that teachers can make? Yeah, that's a newer one, so I don't want to answer without checking on your end.
So it does look like it's an option.
Okay, perfect.
The course settings.
We'll walk back through how you got there, Amanda, and then talk through those two check marks.
Okay. So when you log in, if you click onto your pencil icon in the bottom of your course card to get into your editor, you're going to come up to that wrench icon in the top right. It'll say tools when hovered over. When you click there, you'll want to select the first option for course settings. And then you'll want to scroll down to advanced options. And this will give you the option to automatically assign the minimum activity score to pass through activities. So that'll be the 0. So if you turn this on for your specific course, it'll just apply to your course. It'll set those 0s to pass through activities. If you want it to complete the activity and allow the student to move on, so you're using sequential order, you will also need to check mark activities complete when minimum score is auto-assigned. That'll complete it and allow them to move on to the next activity that's not past due. You can also leave it off and it'll require them to still complete that activity even though they've auto-marked it, even though they've got it as a 0. Any changes you'll make, you just want to click Save in the top right corner to apply to your course. And within these course settings, that's also where those agendas, where it'll be right at the top. You just check the box next to use agendas in this course. And then when you go back to your activities play button, underneath that landing page information, that'll be where the agenda is, where you can edit and add that information for that day's agenda. And then I see, how is a 0 marked automatically? So if you apply that or it's applied to your courses, I can show you within the gradebook. So it'll just assign that 0 to those activities once it's gone past that due date. So if it's a continuous course and there's targeted due dates already automatically paced out and applied, anytime a student has not submitted that activity by that targeted due date, it'll automatically apply that 0 and it'll leave it there until they complete it. Unless it's set to complete, then it'll allow them to keep moving on and it'll keep that 0 till they go back and complete it. If you click onto their name to the far left within the people or the grade book, it'll be a little bit easier to view all of their targeted due dates. This will be for a continuous course. If you're in a range course, it'll just say due date and it'll only show you due dates that you have applied yourself. So if you're in a range course, you have the auto 0, you're going to want to go in and set those due dates because otherwise there will be no due date for it to pass and apply those 0s. So it'll look kind of like this, or say they missed several activity due dates, it'll just put the 0s in here automatically for you and it'll list that out. And it will calculate that 0 into the overall score for the student.
And Amanda, Sophia, as well as I had a quick note on it. She wanted to mention the setting is known to take anywhere from 2 to 24 hours to fully apply. So after you click it on and refresh, some settings are automatic, but this one does take a little bit of time. So if you don't see those 0s automatically populate, just give it a little bit and then it'll pop up for you. But also to note on that, the setting is not easily retractable as a lot of the other settings are. So if the 0 applies, it can't take it away without a teacher manually changing those grades or a student submitting and earning a different grade. So even if you turn the setting back off, you change your mind, those 0s remain until a different grade is given or the student earns a different grade. So just keep that in mind before you apply it.
Perfect. Thank you, Megan and Sophia. Thank you for bringing that up.
And then Amanda, there's a couple more questions. So did you already walk through setting due dates in a range course?
No.
Okay, so there was a question that came in to show how to get to where you put the due dates in. So the due dates Amanda is showing is automatic if your course is set in continuous mode. So your admin team has the option between 2 course types, continuous or range. Continuous will automatically pace out those due dates for you based on each student's and individual enrollment dates. So it'll take the entire course and pace it out, including any holidays that are put in, anything that might take a little bit longer for projects. There's a lot of different factors. The other alternative is range, which allows the teacher the flexibility, but you will have to individually apply due dates. And that will really be a determination on which one you would like to use. But Amanda, before you walk through that, there was another question on what you were just, the page you were on before with the students' grades. Sorry. The question was, are students and parents able to clearly see what assignments are missing and what they have 0s from their end?
Yes. So students will have access to the grades page as well. I can even show you as a student. So when they log in, they'll have a little icon on the bottom of their course card. It'll say grades when hovered over. When they click onto their grades page, look at that same view you do as a teacher. And they have a lot of the same features and information that they can see. They just can't edit it like you can as a teacher. So they can print it. They can see that objective mastery, what if dashboard, all the same things that you can see. And they can scroll down and they can see all their target due dates that are coming up, any days that they submitted, any scores that they've earned. So if they're getting those auto 0s, it will show them those auto 0s where they got it. It'll be red. If anything is past due, that date will be red. If they submitted something past the due date, that submission date will also be red. So it's pretty clear what is past due and their scores. And the parent can even log in as the student if they don't have an observer account, and they can print it off from their student side. If they have the observer account, they can just log in. They can click on that same icon, get to the same page just as a student would, and they can print the page if they need it as well. I think that answered that question. You're welcome. As far as assigning due dates in a range course, from your login page, you'll just want to click onto that pencil icon for the editor and go to the editor of the course. I'm gonna change, this is currently set as continuous. I'm just gonna refresh. So if your course is a range course, up in the top of your editor, you'll have a tab titled Scheduling. If you're in a continuous course, it's just going to give you a notification that says you're in a continuous course and you cannot change due dates. But if you're in a range course, it will give you this calendar view, and it's going to list out all of the activities within your course to the very far left. This will allow you to click on to a specific activity. You'll hold it down and drag it and drop it onto that due date you would like it to appear for all students within the course. This will need to be done activity by activity. You can always pick it up and drag it and change it. And they are hard set due dates. If you click on any of those activity titles on the calendar where you've already set it, you'll notice it populates at the bottom for you. This will allow you to click onto the triple dots to the far right, and you can edit, preview, or remove the due date. I do caution that you don't want to click delete because it's going to delete the activity, not the due date. Not really sure why they have it available on this pop-up, but you'll want to make sure that you remove that due date and not delete the activity. So this just is per activity. And I'll just kind of do a few on here. And that's a folder, so I can't move it. Okay. Okay, so once you have selected your due dates for those activities, if you would like to allow late submissions, you do have a couple more steps you'll need to take. You'll want to come up to the activity list to the left of the scheduling tab. And in here, you'll want to select those activities that you would like to allow late submissions for. So maybe you just want to allow late submissions for particular activities, not all of them. You'll check the box to the far left of the activities you'd like. There will be a filter by title at the top. So if you're looking for specific lessons or quizzes, maybe, you can type that in there and it'll pull those up for you. But I'm just going to select a few activities so I can show you. So once you've selected the activities, you're going to come up to the pencil icon in the top right for bulk edit. This will allow you to affect those activities all at one time. And you'll notice you do have quite a few options. And there will be a gray note underneath it if you cannot do it for those activities. You'll find the allow late submissions and you'll check the box to the left of it. Once you've checked the box, you'll click right onto that drop down for it, and you can either select always, you can pick a certain amount of days, hours, or minutes for that grace period. And I'll show you what days looks like. So you can just pick how many days you would like past the due date that they can still submit that late work. Once you've chosen what you would like it to be for late submissions, you'll click the bottom box at the very bottom saying, I understand the changes are permanent. I confirm I want to make them. And then you'll scroll back up to the top right and click update. This will then allow late submissions for those activities that you have selected. So you'll want to be within your editor. You'll want to use the scheduling tab to first assign those due dates. And then you'll want to click over to the activity list to select the activities you like to allow late submissions for, and bulk edit with the pencil on the top right. We do have steps within the support materials for this as well, right within the teacher resources if you need those for future reference.
And Amanda, there's a question on how to get to the editor. If you're having any trouble finding that pencil icon and you do have admin permissions, you'll want to make sure you're in the teacher app for it to look the same as Amanda. I'm not sure if that's the case, but that's the only thing I could think off the top of my head. It's just a few different steps as an admin to access that, but it's a little bit easier as far as navigation for the teacher app to be able to edit and access the content like Amanda was seeing.
Thank you, Megan. All right, I don't think I see any other questions in the chat. There were a couple more that we had from the surveys. Someone did ask about if students have access to submit assignments during any applied blackout dates. So yes, absolutely. Any blackout dates or holiday dates that are added at the admin level, the students still have access to see their work. They can still click in there. They can still submit. It is just not going to apply any targeted due dates for a continuous course on those dates automatically. So they'll still have access. That won't keep them from that. And then I thought there was one more, but that might be it. But Megan did post in the chat a survey link for to receive that PD certification for an hour PD today. If you have any questions that weren't answered, or maybe some came up while we were walking through things together today, please fill out that survey. Please let us know what your questions are, or if you need those support materials, credentials, please fill that out. Let us know. But thank you guys so much for joining us today. It was wonderful to see all your faces after this break. And we hope you have a wonderful second semester, and we're always here to support you. So please feel free to reach out. Thank you guys. Was there another question?
I don't think so. I think that was a hand raise instead of like introduction.
Got it.
I think we're good.
All right. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.